with people, helping people be better. That's the key to coaching. Um, but we have a large enough coaching staff. We should be able to do that.
Well, the more people you've got, the more communication you need, and quite often
Oh yeah,
it's there's too many there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Wally, that's true. Now we have so many consultants. We have so much data coming down to us. Um, like I remember my last couple of years with the Coyotes, Tipper would be between periods. He'd dash into the office, get on his computer, get the analytics he needed, and that was it. We never talked. And I remember seeing them, Tipper, I know there's some analytics here, and they're important stuff. But can't we just still as a coaching staff talk for a second or two before we go in and talk to the guys? But the most important assistant coach was the computer, not our interchange the last couple of years. And I think Tip started to realize that and started to, you're working with people, you need information, but you still need a lot of communication. You need a lot of people that, are helping you, but not overloading you. I can't believe now how many coaches get overloaded with so much information. It's really scary. It's a hard job. I think coaching now is way harder than it was in my era.
Well, Dave, even this Bantam, I'm coaching this Bantam girls team, eh?
Yeah.
I get that Instat thing with all
Mm-hmm.
video of everything.
Yeah.
And and these are 13, 14-year-old girls.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible.
It is. And I don't know. I'd be really interested, Wally, if you could do this sometime. I'd be interested as to what are our growth rates, or are there growth rates in young players playing hockey? Or are they going other places? Is the dropout rate at a lower age now? Because now at about age 11 or 12, guys realize I'm not going to be a hockey player. There still is time to make a switch. And so I'd be really interested. Like, this game used to be the most dominating game in our country in terms of numbers of participation. I'm not sure we're still there. I don't know that. I should know that, but I don't.
Well, my guess is that it's become a sport that's unaffordable for the middle class.
Yeah.
Definitely an upper middle class sport now. Speaking from experience, my own granddaughter chose soccer and is on a soccer scholarship. And, the cost of equipment.
Oh, boy.
All those things factor into it. The same problems exist coaching, team building, playing together to be your best, and they exist in all sports. So when we talk about egos and helicopter parents and lawnmower parents and double shifting and shortening the bench to win games at youth hockey, which is happening,
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that concern me most, is the ethical coaching to develop the best people we can, because they play a sport that teaches you how to be a team player. So it is a difficult challenge here that it's the crux of the problem that has just come to fruition and dealt with in a concrete way with Hockey Canada. So
yeah, the one thing that I remember this as clear as a bell, I think in 1990 or 91, George Kingston, myself, some other coaches were invited to Toronto, and Ken Dryden was kind of the host or the moderator, and we were talking about hockey development, and they wanted us to tell them what the Europeans did with these hockey academies that supplemented what the kids got in their regular stream programs. And so we talked a lot about that, and we even went as far as to drop curriculum as a sample to this is what you could do, but our whole thought was that this would supplement our present programs in the community. And what it's done, it's mankind. And I don't blame anybody, but we always try to find a way to make money from something. And so now the academies are, hey, I'm sure they do a great job. And I actually helped my son at the Prairie Hockey Academy in Saskatchewan a little bit, but they pay enormous amounts of money. And when I go out there, I can see 2 or 3 kids in every group that might make it. Maybe. The rest aren't going to be hockey players. They're probably going to get a little bit better. But, I've always been confused, but I guess I shouldn't be, is that, we used to have hockey schools. Now we don't. We have hockey academies. And they've weakened, I think, community programs. And I don't know what we're doing sometimes. Like, we allow the entrepreneurs to come in and upset the balance in our game. And I got to tell you, Wally, I sometimes have a hard time with it. And again, my son is involved in as an instructor and coaching curriculum director for a program. But I just find this interesting that we always have to find a way to, ka-ching, make some money out of something that hockey schools used to be a bargain. You take, a kid could come to a hockey school for $50 for a week and got a heck of a lot of instruction and some good ideas and everything else. Now it's hugely expensive. So I'll get off the apple box. Sorry.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Dave, because in your era, my era, you were the foundation of creating coach education programs. And going back to those, we learned how to break down a skill and teach a skill.
Yeah.
And I think of the whole whole method.
Yeah.
We knew how to view skills from the front, from the back, from the side.
Yeah.
And we could detect errors and we could break it down to teach.
Yeah.
And then we would take that into being able to design a drill and tweak a drill and build a drill into a sequence that would accomplish a purpose. And what's happened with the coach education program, they've actually eliminated the fundamental teaching of biomechanical principles, skill analysis, to be able to break down and teach skills. And this was sort of, we wanted every coach to be able to do that. So we've reached a point now where coaches are not educated in skill breakdown, creation of drills. They're drill copiers, drill stealers, and they just do drills that the players, in most cases, can't do well enough because they don't have the skills needed to do the drill in. And I think Tom is on the right track in terms of filling the void.
Yeah.
Let the game teach.
Yeah.
Just let them play small area games, get lots of touches. If you can't teach, don't interfere and negate the development by interfering with their enjoyment of playing. And they will figure things out just by playing the game. Their decision making and their skills will improve.
Yes, they will.
Small area games. So I'm really caught in there's that line between the skills experts and at what point do we let the development go on. So I call it progressive deliberate practice, which is like hockey school.
Yep.
And then random game-like practice, which is small area games, and that balance.
Yep.
In terms of with young players of enjoyment and accomplishing more in terms of their development.
Yep. Well, you're on the right. I mean, that's, I know it's for all of us in coaching. I love hockey. I love the game. I love it when I can see kids playing street hockey or shinny, where we're up in Canada when it's in the cold weather and they can get on the outdoor rinks and stuff. I love that stuff. I mean, to me, I don't know. I used to freeze my toes and get frostbite on my nose, and that's how I learned to love the game. And then when it started to snow, you had to shovel it off. So I'm going back to a time when there was a romance with the game, and there's no longer much romance with our game. Now it's all it's parents driving it, getting specialists. There's a goal in mind. My kid's going to play at the top level and be a millionaire and everything else. I know that, and I'm probably exaggerating, and I'm getting a little frustrated here. But the game has changed so much, Wally, that we got to be very careful because the main reason we're having kids play the game is to develop and become a better person, more fit, learning to work and cooperate with others, learning to share. All those things are very valuable. But now the main concern is, how do I get him big, faster? How do I make his skill level better? And so the game's gone in a whole different direction. And it's for all of us old guys, it's not easy because we've gone through a huge change. I mean, my development as a player was playing shinny. I mean, that's where I learned the most about stick handling. A guy slashed you, you kind of there's no referee, so you had to deal with it. Just keep playing. And you learn to play with a stick that had half a blade on it. So that's how you developed. It was just informal, having so much fun, and you're getting so much better. You never realized it, but you're getting so much better. So you're saying it's all these small ice hockey. I agree with you. Like sometimes we just overdo it. And I think that's what we're doing with hockey right now. We're overdoing it, overloading kids. We're creating sometimes dreams that are not there. I don't know why we have to invest so much money in some things that they don't go anywhere unless they do develop a better person. And that's the key. If they're developing a better person, good idea.
Dave, I've talked to Swedish coaches and Finnish coaches.
Yeah.
They have that same problem in those countries.
Yeah.
What about in Russia?
Well, in Russia, it's interesting in Russia because when you go to a practice for kids in some cities, first of all, the club team runs the youth hockey. So in every city, like in Yaroslavl, the Lokomotiv has its development program. It's not community. It's the team that runs the development program. And every level is coached by ex-Lokomotiv players and hockey experts. And very often, the parents aren't allowed into practice. They're allowed in the rink to pick the kids up, drop them off, but they can't stay during practice. That's not the same in every place, but Lokomotiv, that's what they do. And really, there's no magic to what they do. It's a high repetition. It's for sure they pay attention to a lot of little details that maybe we don't in terms of the skill development. But parents are still ambitious. There's a lot of parents that I don't think they have individual skill coaches because there's no ice available for an individual skill coach. You have to work for the club. But most of the clubs now have skill coaches that I think the kids can access. But there's really everything's run through the team. Your program is laid out. And I think it's like all of us. We have to be careful as to how much we overload the kids with information, and they need other diversions in their life besides just bloody hockey. But Russia, they do a really good job of developing players, obviously. But they still have their problems too. There's no question about that.
Dave, I'm really curious. When you coached over there, you coached some young men who became NHL stars.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could talk about seeing some of those players and how they progressed and went on, and the role of the KHL in terms of motivating young Russians to play in the NHL.
Yeah, I've coached a number of guys that are still, some of them are still from Yaroslavl in the NHL. Magnitogorsk, I had like Nikolai Kulemin and guys like that. But the one guy who gets all the attention in Magnitogorsk I was very fortunate to be able to work with Evgeny Malkin. And, these guys are all just like our kids. You could tell they love to play the game. So there was a real love. And that seems to be, if you don't love it, you won't stay with it because the game has a lot of highs and lows for a young developing player, especially if you got to move up to the next level. It's a mental thing. And so your love of the game often keeps you at it and keeps you, staying with things. So Malkin and those guys, they all had that kind of thing. They were very special athletes and they're like our kids. They always played above their age level. Good players there get accelerated to play at a level that where their skills are certainly capable of playing at that level. And they do a good job with young players. I really felt that one of the strongest things I saw with, say, the development of Malkin, the older players were good for him. They knew he was going to be a star. They knew he was a difference maker at age 18. But he had a lot of respect for the older players, and they weren't afraid to give him a scolding sometimes and keep him in line if they had to. And then when he was down, they were guys that he could they would pick him up. So I saw really good mentorship from a lot of players on our team when I coached in Magnitogorsk, especially because that was, in those days, that was Soviet hockey, not today's present Russian hockey. But you know, it's interesting because I got to tell you, I should tell you a little story about coaching in 2005, 2006 in Russia. I was the first and this is how far it's come. I was the first North American coach to go there. So about the third or fourth day, we're in training camp, and these guys are not in great shape. And I'm talking to my assistant coach, and he said to me, well, we have 19 preseason games. We'll get there. We have a month and a half. So I thought, oh gosh, that's right. I got to remember that. The second thing is, I'm talking to our doctor, and I asked him where he did his, his education. You know, was he, a specialized school for, for that type of thing? And he said, yeah, I'm a specialist. And I said, oh boy, that's great. You know, elbows, knees, hips. He said, oh, no. I'm a gynecologist. So I learned back in 2005, 2006, that the Soviet hockey was still way back. Now, if you go to Russia and meet with a team and see all the aspects of their development, it's mind-boggling. And so they're going to continue to develop really good players. But I do think they keep a top player more in line than maybe we do. Our top players feel entitlement. I don't think in Russia top players feel that way at all.
Dave, I could have used a gynecologist coaching 3 years ago at SAIT. I recruited this 6-foot goalie, and and it had to be video then. That was recruiting in the COVID year, right?
Yeah.
So she comes to camp, and I'm thinking, geez, she's not moving very well.
Yeah.
Compared to what I thought and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
September 29th, she had a baby. So
awesome.
Not even her mother knew she was pregnant.
Oh my God, that's totally that's a good one, Tom. That may be the best I've ever heard.
Oh, I'm watching her thinking she looks so good in the video there, up and down and moving all over the place.
I'll tell my wife that one, Tom. Thanks. Oh God.